Welcome back to Reds Country Radio. Unfortunately, this is no longer a Bearcats baseball podcast because the Bearcats baseball team did not make the NCAA tournament. They were one of the first four out. So sadly, our run as a Bearcats baseball podcast lasted exactly one episode. Very sad. We have to focus on the Reds, who are 8-18 now. So let's talk about it. I'm Donnie. Rob, you ready to talk some Reds baseball?
Yeah, for sure. It's been kind of a tough stretch for our heroes playing in Cincinnati, but I think the hard part of the schedule is over with, and hopefully it's greener pastures from here on out. That's the idea, at least.
Absolutely. Steve, it's great to see you in person. It's good to be with
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Cincinnati.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. In classic podcast form, I was about 45 minutes late. So
That happens.
We're all back together again. It's classic.
That's
true.
Baby.
But I did want to say real quick on UC before we left, before we moved on. It was sad to see them not get in, but man, like I'm very happy with. I think the Lookouts just hit a home run. We're watching the Lookouts game on the TV behind us. So
A little Red Louder on the hill.
yeah, I can't tell who that is,
Wow.
but right now. But I am happy that we sent Texas home packing. I was a big fan of that. So, got to take the small wins where you can get them.
I think they won 34 games this year. It was their first 30-win season since 2019, the last year they made the tournament. So I would like the work that Jordan Bischel did. This is his first year skipper of the Bearcats. He's had success everywhere he's been at any level. So I think the Bearcats baseball team is on the correct trajectory, and would like to see them make a push for Omaha next year. I think that's very doable.
Absolutely. I think they should, right? Vision will be back. And
I think they retain a lot of the guys, too. A lot of the good players, at least they had.
Yep.
we should watch. Are any of those guys draft prospects that are?
I know they had a couple guys that were like incoming freshmen that were like really top prospects, I guess, but I'm not sure if there's any draft guys. I'll have to double check and dig deeper into the stats next time.
I mean, Josh Cross, he's going to lead the Big 12 in home runs.
Yeah, I
dude,
could see a couple background guys getting selected. Like I thought that Cameron Mitchell was at least like in the play for a chance to be selected. So I mean, two-way guy like that, people are.
I
gonna try to
didn't
pick up
realize
on
that
him.
our closer just like came out of the infield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of different.
He was in like
for him.
the talks for being like the two-way player of the year, whatever that name for that award is. I forget what it is. But no, like Cross, he like led the Big 12 in like all major hitting categories. He played for Eastern Michigan last year, transferred in, and like just lit up the Big 12.
Even over Caliano. Like Mitchell was going to win that award over Caliano.
No, he was in the running for it. Like his name is like
he was on like the watch.
yeah,
list.
his watch
All
list.
right,
Yeah.
I was going to say I mean, all respect to.
No, Jack Kaggs has that locked up more than likely.
By the way, I read a mock draft today. We might have to start turning to mock drafts if the season keeps going the way we're going. Another Wake Forest pitcher, Chase Burns,
I
was
saw that
the
too
projected
today.
pick. So
I saw that today as well.
Yeah, we get into that.
that's later on down the line.
Yeah.
So the news, of course, is that May has not gone well. The Reds are 8-18 in the month of May. They slightly, put a stop to the bleeding with this great series sweep against the Dodgers. They needed that back
Huge.
home, and then won the first game in the St. Louis series, and then lost two straight, so lost another series. But the Dodgers series, I still feel like it did give them life a little bit, and it's not like they were uncompetitive in these last two games against St. Louis, so. It's frustrating. TJ Friedl was back today. That's good news as well. Pitching has still been solid. Obviously we're still losing games. We're still not winning as much as we should, but I feel like it's not quite as bleak as it was a week or two ago.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing is, I mean, they had a winning homestand. Like, when's the first time we had a winning anything? First series win against the Dodgers in about a month since they beat the Angels at home too.
And the first time they won 2 games in a row since like mid-April as well.
Yeah. So they had been absolutely bludgeoned, but we noted that this was a stretch against a lot of NL West teams who are really good, and if they're not really good, they're also just very talented, more talented than the Reds. And it just hurts to think about. But Don, you and I were talking about mostly sports before we started recording a Barstool Sports show, and I caught some of their Bill Walton talk the other day, but they were also talking about the Cubs. And the Cubs are 1 game under, right? But Big Cat said he was coming to the realization that the Cubs were just not very good. And I was like, oh, if Big Cat's thinking that and they're 1 game under, then what should I be thinking about the Reds right now?
Well, what's the Cubs' run differential?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think, it's the Reds have lost a lot of close games. They won a lot of close games last year. So did they overachieve last year and now they're underachieving? I don't know. But the Reds are a little bit better than the record, not much better. The Cubs are probably worse than their record. So
yeah,
the Cubs are 28-27 right now.
Yeah, sorry. Well, so they're 1 game over. Yeah, but what's their run differential right now?
I don't have that in front of me right now.
I'll pull it up, but it is kind of a thing though where it's like just frustrating to see what we were last year and
-4.
-4.
So
okay.
the Reds are -9 and are 4.5 games back with a 5-run difference.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals and the Pirates, who are ahead of us in the standings as well. Cardinals being 27-27, 500 on the year, are -35, and the Pirates are slightly better record than the Reds. They're -29. But even that's crazy. Like the Cardinals are -35 and they're 500. Like they're not a better team than us. They beat us in this series, but man, that's the game of baseball though, and that's also why you play 162 games. You need a lot of games to kind of weed some of that stuff out. Like if the Cardinals have a -35 differential for the next 2 months of the season, they're not going to be at 500. They're going to be well below.
Yeah. So the other thing too is that we're now 1-11 in 1-run games.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's the worst in baseball.
It has to be.
Yeah, it is. I think the Angels have won like 3 more games than us in that category, but it's still like 1-11.
You just got to like fluke into a few more.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, so I think it's like kind of like the offense not being great, and I did want to talk about later Friedl being back, but why don't we talk about it right now? So I thought the move today, as we were recording on Wednesday, they brought Friedl up, but they DFA'd Ford, which I thought was interesting.
That's the correct move, I believe.
And were you worried they were going to send Hurtubise back down?
I was, and I wanted to say I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Hurtubise because I've really liked what I've seen from him just at the top, and we saw
his first extra base hit on Saturday. We were at the game at the Yale Valley Sports Club for Steve's bachelor party.
Your boy is 2-0 in games that I have attended this year. So again, Reds. I'm not saying much. I'm just saying, if you need someone to get you a W, you know who to call.
Rob was technically present.
I was.
Yeah, you're still undefeated, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm still undefeated.
Yeah, like we said, get the 3 of us there. We'll win 2 out of 3. How about that?
I like it.
Start winning series finally. So I don't know. I think keeping Hurtubise was the right call, but just the amount of hand wringing that everybody maybe not everybody, but there's a lot of people on Reds Twitter is like this organization is failing if they do not bring up Mike Ford
Does
right
it
now.
Does it feel a little silly to you that we spent so much of last month arguing about both Mike Ford and Nick Martini?
Yes.
You should be worried about better players.
Yes.
And we're
completely
we're worried about 2 guys that are batting under 200.
And they're only getting at bats. Whether they were on the roster or not, they were only ever getting at bats. We're going to get at bats when someone was injured.
Yeah.
And, hopefully, as we get healthy, we don't need to argue about which of those guys should be on the roster because neither of them should be really. Although Martinez can heat up a little bit.
Yeah.
He had a couple hits today, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, in a perfect world, in a healthy lineup, Nick Martini's not playing as much as he's playing right now. He's the guy you bring in to play.
He's the left-handed Stu Fairchild.
Yeah.
Shout out to Stu.
Maybe he plays first base every once in a while. Maybe he comes in and pinch hits, or he's a DH one day. But in an ideal situation, he's not playing as much as he's playing.
Stu's been one of the best hitters on the Reds in the last month.
Yeah, and his splits against lefties and righties, he's a legit platoon guy, and I'm really glad that we made that decision last year or 2 years ago to bring him back.
You should continue to get starts at bats in general. With TJ healthy, whether that means get the other guys around. Steer's been playing a little more first base now with CES still out, and with Mike Ford gone, that'll continue.
Just some quick facts here. Fairchild's splits versus left-handers: 322 average, 412 on base, 508 slugging, 920 OPS.
Yeah. So I'm liking that.
Those are good numbers. That's what you want to see.
He had a home run on Friday night too. Like we just had the game on in the background. He rocked one. So,
How about Stu?
how about yes? Yeah, we're gonna clip that. How about Stu?
How about
How
Stu?
about Stu?
But I do think that Hurtubise has at least a spot on this roster.
Yeah,
Like
and he fits with the, much more than a guy like Mike Ford. He fits with the MO of the Reds. Like he's that scrappy player. He's fast. He's almost like a not quite as good TJ Friedl. Like a similar skill set. And we compared his hitting style a little bit to like Luis Arias, where he's just kind of punching the ball out there. And he did. That's why he kind of started with a lot of get a lot of singles. And he's not going to be a guy that crushes 25 home runs a year, but that's fine.
Yeah, going to a lot of singles. He's batting 219. He's slugging 250. So it's like all singles.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, we saw his first double, on Saturday.
So, Don, I want you to take the hosting back here because I feel like I've been taking it on a little bit right now. But let me, Rob, like, do you think Hurtubise should be on this team, like, until, like, when Marte comes back, say? Like, who do you think, who's the eventual move then?
Yeah, he might be the odd guy out when Marte comes back, but it also depends. Friedel's liable to get hurt again, I think. He's already been hurt twice. It's kind of hard to say, but I think in a perfect world, Hurtubise might be the odd guy out.
Well, and that's fine. We should want to be back to a place where depth becomes not a problem, but an asset.
Yeah.
And you have to make those hard decisions like that.
Teams that win the World Series or just playoff teams in general have great players that would start for the Oakland Athletics playing on their AAA team. And that should be okay. And those guys are still going to make, if they're on the 40 man, they're still making what, $500,000 or $600K a year. They're going to be happy. So they got to drive from Louisville to Cincinnati a bunch of times. It's fine.
Oh darn!
Yeah.
To play baseball.
Yeah.
Although it's still funny to me, we had the Chattanooga Lookouts game on, this evening as we were waiting to set up to watch Rhett Lauder start.
Yep.
And Bubba Thompson is playing left field for the Chattanooga Lookouts. It's still so crazy to me that they just send him straight.
That seems
Skip
disrespectful.
AAA, they just send him right down.
I mean, I
Double
get
A.
it from a personnel perspective of you wanting higher prospects, and Louisville is a crowded outfield. But if I were him, I don't know why I wouldn't just tested for agency. But maybe that's a testament to the Reds organization.
Yeah, it's possible.
And I guess, if he's on the 40 man still, or did he go through waivers?
He was DFA'd
DFA'd?
and he went through waivers and then he
Wow.
accepted his assignment. Like he could have opted out too. So, but yeah, you're right.
And that still could happen with Mike Ford. Mike Ford took assignment previously.
Yeah.
And that could happen again. And hey, again, he had a tough stretch here. He could be an asset down the road if we get more injuries, and you never know.
Yeah, seems like a good clubhouse guy. It's not a bad thing to have that.
An asset that bats 150.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you say that, but he was really hot in spring training.
He was
pretty solid in AAA, and we had the exact same conversation about Nick Martini, where he started out really hot and then went really cold, and everyone wanted him gone, and he went down to AAA, which seemed to really help him. He was batting great in AAA, like immediately hit an insane home run right when he went down there, and like kept and stayed hot. And he turned it around. He got called back up, and he's been a solid bench bat and spot starter since then. I don't know what his stats are since call-up, if you can isolate that, but he's been decent. And so you never know. That same thing could happen with Ford or whoever else. We've had some success with sending guys down. It was TJ Friedl is an example of that, right? He got sent down, came back up, and was
the back half of 2022 was really good for Friedl, and like that kind of solidified his spot on the 2020.
Same thing happened with Will Benson.
Yep.
Last year.
Yeah.
So, and not that I think either of those guys, Ford or Martini, have the upside of either Benson or Friedl, but I don't know if it's our personnel in the coaching staff in AAA, or if it's just kind of some guys need a reset and get out of the show for a little bit. But hey, it seems to work.
I mean, Pat Kelly follows us on Twitter, so anyone who follows us on Twitter, I'm willing to believe in their organizational philosophy.
At ATBBTTR.
You know it. Yes.
There you go.
10.3 thousand followers.
Wow.
On there. So, we're trying. We're doing something right, I think.
We're ascending.
Yeah, we're doing what we can.
An ascending podcast.
Yeah.
That's what we are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of numbers like that, were you kind of surprised by the amount of people that were at the Dodgers series, the game we were at, and otherwise? I know there were a lot of Dodgers fans there, but there are also a ton of Reds fans.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me, right? Because like it's like holiday weekend, like first time, like maybe you didn't get to go to like any like the school night games, but finally like 7:10 start on Friday night.
True, that was nice.
And then another 7:10 on Saturday night. Even like the Sunday game looked pretty cool, despite it being moved up early and then rain coming during the game.
I think it's part of the Shohei Ohtani effect.
Yeah, that's true. People want to see him. I just feel like the Reds fans are quick to kind of abandon the team.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about
just getting frustrated and not wanting to go spend money at the ballpark to see a losing product.
So I kind of like, and I've between us, I've kind of like shit on like Cubs fans, for having like a bunch of dudes that just are out in the bleachers drinking like at like 2:20 on a Friday, or 1:20 on a Friday, but. Like I kind of wonder if Cincinnati is a big enough city to have just a bunch of dudes, like a fan base that is like I was thinking is like for every like 9 people, there's probably like 2 or 3 that will go to a game. Like I just wonder if we don't have enough people to like hit the ratio or whatever.
Right? Yeah, that makes me think. Like I you don't hear as much of like. When the Reds aren't good, or like it almost like it shouldn't matter. Like people just want to go to Cubs games because it's a game and like it's something to do. You don't quite hear about that as much in Cincinnati. It's like it's just like a.
That's like if you go to watch a game at a venue like Wrigley Field, it's like more of an experience too. Like you don't get that same experience. That's
pretty fun.
Great American.
Yeah, no, I agree that Great American's fun, and it's on the Banks too, which is like same idea as Wrigleyville, right? I think the thing is though is like. How many more people are living like in the city of Chicago, than like around like the city? Because like
we're gonna get into a public transportation debate.
Yes, I am. No, I'm just kidding. But like like John, like there's a lot of people in OTR that can just either like walk down or go down to the games and like.
Well, but people in the equivalent of Oakley can't really. You can drive and you could risk. 5 beers and driving home, but
or you can take the bus and take you 45 minutes to get there on the bus line.
Yeah, well, I mean,
from the equivalent of Oakley in Chicago, it takes a little while on the L train too.
Yeah, I do think that like that people care too much about attendance, and it obviously auto corrects itself when the team is better, right?
Sure.
I think it's always been a problem in April and September when school's in. And you're not getting like those kid glove games and like any like stuff and like it's still cold. I'm not really too worried about it because one of the best things about that clip we did at the first half last year was people just noticing like how much fuller the yard got as the clips went on. And I think that can still happen. I think you just need another like 12-game winner or. The other thing too is that like people were really like Ellie got the loudest pop of anyone in the building on Saturday night, which is like what I noticed, and I think eventually as people continue to get to like know Ellie and get to know this roster, kind of like the 2012, 2011 like that run with all of those guys like Bruce, Votto, Phillips, etc. I think once like this team continues to start winning, I think they just have to win. I mean, plain and simple, right?
Yeah.
There was a full house already on the 4th of July in 2012 that just happened to be treated to Homer Bailey's first no-hitter. Like that, but, nobody was expecting to see a no-hitter. They just all came because it was a summer night, it was 4th of July, and the Reds were good. So
well, that's my favorite. The crazy coincidence of Adam Dunn's grand slam walk-off comeback, whatever home run. The fact that the ballpark was packed at the end of the game, we were down by a handful of runs.
Yeah,
because there was a post-game concert, I think. After.
Yeah. Somebody joked that it was Nickelback one time. I laughed about that.
Hey, my bad. He was pretty big back then.
Yeah, but like you're right. No banks that people could just go out to and watch the game.
Yeah.
After like, I still think there's a rabid fan base, of course. In Cincinnati, it's just. Right now, if they're not 12 over, just look at what happened to the Bengals. And nobody. I was there in 2019. There were not many souls at those Bengals games in 2019 that were going to like the Bengals Jets Week 10, where we were still winless.
So I think part of it too is the expectation. The team was supposed to be so good this year, and it just hasn't been what we were told it was going to be, and that's probably pissed a lot of people off. It's kind of pissed me off too. Like it's made watching games less enjoyable or listening to games less enjoyable, knowing they're going to go in and more than likely lose.
I feel like there's also a shift in, as much as Cincinnati is a baseball town, our generation hasn't really had a reason to be much of a.
Yeah.
Like if you aren't like us, who are hardcore baseball nerds a little bit, and like played growing up all the time and like really got into baseball, then you're just like you're supporting your teams, your city's professional teams. And right now, the Bengals and FC Cincinnati are great, and the Reds
They're the two hot tickets in town right now.
Yeah, so like, why should you bother?
Well, see, like you watch FC broadcasts, and it's like packed.
Yes.
Well, and then you
Household
see,
elbow.
like, you can just see it in our responses, in our replies on like Twitter or Instagram. Like, people are like, why should we give them slack? It's been 30, 35 years.
Yeah.
Like, and
They're not wrong.
At some point, like, I can only like be so overly positive without, you know what? Like, I can't blame people. And I used to kind of silently blame like the Ohio State fans in the fan base, for feeling that way. But when like, us Bearcat fans, we recognize like when like a guy like Victor Locken was getting booed off the court for, being like he had like a couple off shooting nights, and like they were like UC fans. We've not seen much winning like on a big stage either in like our young lives, and they were booing that kid. Like, I don't know.
Well, fans get frustrated quickly.
Yep, for sure. So
let's do some more kind of perspective there. The Reds are basically 2 months into the season. We are how many games under 500? 8 games under, right? Okay. I was thinking about this today. We got basically 4 more months left of the season: June, July, August, September. If you go 4 over each month remaining, that's not crazy. Like, you don't have to get all 8 of those games back today. You don't have to put yourself in a playoff position, the next week.
Yep.
Go 4 over each month. Very doable. We did that in April, I think, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're right back in the wild card mix. You have to be consistent, though. You can't, you can't have months where you go 500 or lower, because then that makes the next month even harder. We've gotten through a really tough stretch of our schedule. It's going to be easier, and you just need to be a little bit better than 500. We're not in that deep of a hole, really, and it is still early. So
can you pull up the wild card standing real quick?
Yeah.
Just read off to the people how many games back we are at the final wild card spot.
The Reds are 4.5 games back of the final wild card spot, which is the 30 and 29 San Diego Padres. In fact, they're tied with the Giants. So there's basically 4 teams tied for the last 2, or 3 teams tied for the last 2 spots, and they're all about 500. They're all like 1 game over 500.
Well, and then last year too, the D-backs got in at 6 games over 500 total, like, and they went all the way to the World Series. I think you're right. I can see it, and like you said, we got that hard stretch out of the way.
But we also can't, have the same conversation a month from now. They do need to start winning some games.
This is the time.
They need to at least start working back towards 500. Put some series wins together.
Yeah, that should be the goal, is to be 500.
We don't
get
need
to 500.
a 12-game winning streak to get this team back into it. They aren't in that big of a hole, but we need to start winning some series. You need to win more games than you lose, and just kind of chip away.
Yeah.
You can't, and the team is not frustrated. I think they still feel like they're a great team. I don't think they're faking that. I've listened to all the post-game interviews. I think this team is still kind of bought in. I love that they got rid of the Viking helmet. I think they're having fun with it, and they're scrapping it, and they're getting some new ideas in there. Baseball players are very superstitious. I think they're still having fun, and they still believe in themselves as players and as a team. And I think we have a lot of fun baseball left.
Yeah. I blame Luis Sessa for that. He was just cursing, sending all the bad juju.
It was a great 2023 thing,
he was
and I'm glad they kind of buried it in 2023.
Yeah. But, I mean, and then if, you said, Don, that, like, there's through those 3 teams that are tied at 1 game over 500 in that final wild card spot. Like, if you just look at the NL standings this year, there's only like 6 or 7 teams that are over 500.
Yeah.
Only before last week, there was maybe 5 that were over 500. And
it's not like in the AL, I feel like there have been like 97 win teams that just straight up didn't even make the wild card.
Yeah.
It is not going to be like that this year in the NL, especially.
No, I agree.
So, and with the extra playoff team that they added, a year or 2 ago now, anything can happen. At the same time, though, I feel like we've had this conversation the last couple of years where, okay, can they maybe have a good enough team to get into the playoffs? Great, but I guess last year kind of proved that wrong. Once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. But I also, the logical part of me says, okay, well, this team scraping in isn't going to beat the.
They're not dangerous.
You know, they're not that dangerous. Are they really going to go to the World Series, go to the NLCS even? But we saw last year that all the top teams lost like pretty quickly, and it was a little bit chaotic. So you really do just have to get in. But I think we've been treated with the Big Red Machine teams of the past that didn't just fluke into a World Series. Like they dominated their way to a World Series.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we want that back. And is it possible in a small market these days? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. We got a superstar, so
Yep.
I think that's one piece of the
start.
puzzle.
We got to do something while he's still on contract.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
For sure. And he's not going to sign an extension because he's a Boris client. So
Yeah.
we got that window, baby. And
That's about it.
I saw an interesting stat today. Kind of ironic because Luke Maile had a great game, but the Reds are 5-16, well 5-17 after today in games that Luke Maile has started, and 20-16 in games that Tyler Stephenson has started. Any thoughts there?
You know your 4-game theory, like you got to win 4 more games. To
Yeah,
come
hey.
back. I think you play Tyler Stephenson more often than not.
Right.
I kind of wonder if that bears out. Well, like obviously it's in the wins and losses where it counts the most.
Sure.
But I kind of wonder if that bears out in stats too. Like I don't think. I mean, Maile's been fine this year, but we obviously had that conversation at the start of the year.
Well, Stevenson's been a lot better of a hitter.
Yeah.
He's been a lot better.
He's turned it on this
and
year.
we doubted him. Like I asked that question, like would Maile start over Stevenson in a like playoff scenario? And like Stevenson has proved a lot of doubters wrong this year.
He's batting 241, slugging 414.
Yeah,
He's putting the bat on the ball for sure. But I think some of that too, the impact is definitely more than just the difference in their hitting. There's a chance that the pitchers like pitching to him better. We saw that effect a little bit with like Kurt Casale. I don't know if Maile was like, ever this guy that all the pitchers talked about as being a great catcher for defensively or like pitching to, but I think Stevenson's put a lot of effort into getting to be a better framer, to be a better blocker, to throwing guys out, to calling a better game. We definitely heard that when he was a rookie that he was not very good at that.
yeah.
Yep.
And he's a good way into his season in his career now. He's got a lot of experience. He's worked with a lot of different major league pitchers, really good major league pitchers. And my understanding is that he calls a great game now. And catcher's not a position where every guy can play 160 games, but man, we should at least be DHing him more.
Yeah, I think that's the best
I don't
thing
know.
you can do is just to continue getting him in the lineup. And, if you don't want to play a Nick Martini or if you don't want to play Mike Ford, like, you still have Tyler Stephenson. And, like, the hope is that on the days where, okay, he just caught 5 days in a row, maybe we need to just give him a rest. Like, the best thing you can do is still just keep him as the DH in that lineup.
Yeah.
Like, he's not really been the cornerstone that I think a lot of Reds fans and obviously the team hoped he would by calling him, QB1, like letting him marinate in the minors for basically 6 years.
Yeah.
Like that's a long time, even for a high school prospect. That's still a long time in the minors to really try and perfect.
He had an injury or something, didn't he?
I
think he missed basically a whole season.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
In the minors, I believe it is.
Yeah. So, I do like Phil, like being a better hitter throughout the year, and then if we get Marte back, by the end of June, and then eventually if we get McLean back by August, like if we're still in it, like, I'm not.
I
don't
hope
wanna
so.
count on that. I don't. I don't think that's going to happen, just because, like you just don't. That seems like an injury. That's
I think I saw CES is probably still a month out or so.
That's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
Because it was that was also a hand thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
got hit on the hand. Like,
So
it's a broken
Friedl
wrist, I
was
believe.
able to get back much quicker.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's where the great chair incident of 2024 happened. Like another one of our guys got hit on the hand, and Dave destroyed a dugout
That was
chair.
great.
That was-
You could just tell how frustrated he was.
You know what's funny is that he did that interview with like the Chatterbox guys, and he has claimed to have never like intentionally tried to get thrown out to fire up his team. And I'm like, okay, dude, like I sure, whatever you say. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's saying that just because he can't say like, or maybe there's something in the code that I can't intentionally.
Just coach speak or whatever.
Yeah, like I don't want to be like just seen as like another like Bobby Cox or something, but
Mhm.
they were like that was surely that was a frustration, but it's not like it was the same team like that's been hitting them like 3 times in the past month. It was a different team, but I think the frustrations are real. Like he's been getting his players have been getting hit on the hand a lot, and I don't think his job is on the line, but I can understand how it would affect him that he's responsible and there's all these expectations and they probably set out a lot of goals and they're just not meeting a lot of those goals right now.
Steve, as someone who knows ball, do you get frustrated online when we lose a game and people just immediately want to call for the manager's head, even though our entire lineup's injured or baseball players slump that happens?
Yeah. I mean, I've never believed that he's made the lineup either. I've always believed that it's our analytics department that is making the lineups, and then they basically bake the whole cake, and then they let Dave present.
Sure,
Dave has all of those pieces around him to make those decisions. He is the ultimate decision maker.
He's a player's coach. He's the guys like him, and that's one of the big reasons why he's there, right?
Yeah. And he's also I think he's a smart manager, and I just don't like all the Twitter replies that are like, oh, he should have done this, he should have done that. Managing a bullpen is hard.
Yeah. And it's always easy to say those things in hindsight.
Yeah.
And I think I said this in the last podcast, the problems this team is having right now, they're not David Bell problems. It's injuries.
I firmly agree with
injuries
that.
And poor play.
So one of those
the manager can't fix that typically.
Not an
injury. They kind of fix the poor play part, motivational tactics and whatever else if you want to get it.
I think the offense has looked better recently. Yeah. It's not like they were as bad as they were that one stretch.
Right. But that's especially that bad stretch that a few weeks ago, everybody was just fire David Bell, fire David Bell. And it's looking at this, from 100 feet away, it's not David Bell problems the team's having. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. It's not.
It's not your fault, David.
I just don't think he should get the repercussions. I don't think he will too, because they just extended him. And Don, you made this great group chat of ours. 4 of your best players have been out this entire time.
Yeah, what is he supposed to do?
Yeah, and Mike
Ford and Santiago Espinal are getting too many at bats.
Yeah, you got 3 or 4 guys a night in this lineup that are batting under 200.
Yeah,
because they don't have anybody else to bat, or they don't have anybody else to bring up.
And then people also want to blame ownership and Nick Krall for that. It's well, who do you want him to go get?
Yeah.
Who
are they going to trade to get somebody that's better?
They made a lot of great moves in the offseason.
Yeah.
Right? We had a ton of depth.
Everybody got hurt at the same freaking time.
Yeah.
I just think it just all comes down to what we were talking about a few minutes ago with 35 years, and people are getting impatient now, and they wanted to put all the chips in last year, future be damned, because they've heard future so many times and it's just never come to fruition. And for the first time, I think I'm finally starting to realize that, just because this is year 6 of us doing the show, and we've been to the playoffs once, and people say that's not real just because
it's
was
been
COVID.
6 years of us doing the show.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Think about that.
Holy crap.
No, saying that real quick. We've had, the last 2.5, 3 winning seasons out of the last 4 years. One of them being COVID, whatever.
Yep.
But the best season we had out of those was 84 and 78. In 21, I think was our final record that year, or 83-79.
Was the COVID year where they lost to the Braves? They didn't score runs. Was the COVID year?
Yeah. So and that's all just in recent memory too, and whether or not people are just, I don't think it's fair at all, but people are going to blame the manager just because I just don't think Joe Schmo knows about all the analytics and everything that goes into making the lineup, and they think it's just still Sparky Anderson just operating off their gut, and just going out.
I would love to go back and listen to one of our podcasts from 2018. Listen to me talk about how great Sal Romano is or something.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they're still up there.
I bet some of those podcasts aged very, very poorly.
We were optimistic about some players that are not in baseball
anymore.
I mean,
what about all the bets we made last year? Those, if you were listening, those bets made some good money.
Yeah, they might not look too great this year. We'll see.
We got we still have 100 more than 100 games to go, right? Which is crazy to think about. We just passed
it's got to be around 100.
We just passed the 1/3 mark on Monday.
Yeah.
So we hit the 54 game mark on Monday.
It's 56 games so far.
So the point there, though, we're rapidly approaching the 80 game mark, which means we get Noelvi Marte back. I believe you mentioned earlier near the end of June. I believe that in the St. Louis Cardinals series, which starts on the 27th, sometime during that series, he'll be eligible. And they plan on basically you can treat it like a minor league rehab stint, where he's eligible to go down to Louisville or wherever they send him and start playing games like pretty soon, I believe.
Yeah.
And so they're going to get him ready to go, and he's going to be hopefully in midseason form when that happens at the end of the month. And man, I mean, Santiago Espinal has filled in great. John Indy has been, here and there he's been good. But getting that infielder back, getting a guy that into the mix there, so those guys aren't playing every single day, that'll be huge, man.
Yeah.
Noelvi Marte was really
Still
good
has
last
a 16-game hitting streak ongoing.
year. There you go.
Yeah.
I thought you can listen to more recent podcasts where I said he was our best overall hitter going into the season.
Yeah.
And so getting him back, I think, would be huge.
I saw a clip on Twitter. It was like a highlight of like 4 or 5 of his hits from last season, all strung together, and like every single one of those hits, the balls it sounded like a gunshot coming off his bat. Like this lineup needs that horribly right now.
But what I wanted to talk about is basically our path to getting him back. Before that happens, how are we going to play? So if the month of May was the month of the NL West, the month of June is pretty much the month of playing our division opponents, which means it's a very impactful month.
Very
to win a game that guarantees a divisional opponent losing a game at the same time.
Huge.
That is always huge. We have games against. We just finished the series with the Cardinals. We got multiple series with the Cubs. We have one series with the Brewers, 2 series with the Pirates, and then another series with St. Louis, intermixed with some other playing a couple other teams. But a lot of divisional opponents, some teams that are ahead of us in the standings, but I don't think are better than us. Specifically the Pirates and Cardinals, but really the Cubs too. A lot of chances for wins. How do you guys feel about the schedule coming up? The other teams we play, just to get them all out there, are the Rockies, which again that should be very beatable. Although that is away, and you never know.
Of course.
We have 2 against the Guardians at home, and then there's a home series against the Red Sox, which I also think should be pretty winnable. What's our record to be in June, Steven? Or Steve, give me a number.
I want to say that we're going to be like 2 games under. So I'd say it's probably – so right now we're, 24 and 32. So if we can get to about by end of June, we're at like 39 and 41. I would really feel a lot better about that. I mean, that's 6-0.
Noel will be back. CES should be back around that time.
Yeah. You'll get clarity on McLean. And then, I would like to see them make an early trade this year. I don't think that's really, this front office's style. But, I think you kind of need that boost a little bit earlier. Make a June trade. We're already out of May, so they're not going to make a May trade.
What pieces are you going for?
Well, so I think I would probably try to get, one I just don't think maybe one more bench bat over Espinal, or Espinal or Martini, to, maybe a veteran 1-year guy that you can get. Try the Tommy Pham experiment again and see if it works this time around. He's on the White Sox. I think they'd be willing to.
Well, I will say at full strength, a guy like Candelario or India basically become bench bats or platoon bats.
Yeah.
I am always the optimist of there's definitely a class of Reds Twitter heads that just want to trade for all the current all-stars.
Yeah.
Or even all the guys they want our teams always to be made up of the Candelarios of the world. Go out and get these pretty decent free agents or trade pieces. I have always kind of been an advocate for building from within, and I just think about the guys that we're getting back. I think about if some of the players like Will Benson and Steer can kind of turn it around from what we know they're capable of. You don't need anything, which is the most crazy thing to say after how much our depth was, ricocheted this last month or so. So I get that building some depth is always good, but don't try to go get an all-star. But another Candelario tier player, I think could definitely add some value. If that's the
would you add another? Would you add another starter, like a starting pitcher?
I would say no. Again, I'm a build from within guy. I got Brandon Williamson who's going to be healthy here.
I thought you might say that.
I love Brandon Williamson. I think he's a great pitcher, and I think,
solid dude.
I think he should be on a major league roster, and I'm glad he's.
I wonder, if they get a pitcher, you think they go to like a bullpen piece that can pitch like the closer setup man role, considering how shaky Diaz
has been.
But
he's pitched better the last couple games. But like overall, though, he's been
bullpen has probably been the most solid part of his team.
Right, but I'm
this
saying
year.
you go out and you just get one more guy just as insurance.
I like that. I think any team making a playoff run can always use more bullpen pieces.
Yeah,
for
for sure.
That's one thing that is it's an easier player to trade.
I'm not saying
usually.
they need it, but you have it there just in case.
We've seen that in the past. Guys go out and get top end bullpen pieces, even when they already have top end bullpen pieces, and then someone else's closer is suddenly your seventh inning setup man. That's pretty good. I'll take that. And if that means Cruz and Lukey Tickets are downgraded to being middle relievers, that's a good problem to have too.
That's a great
Well,
problem.
but I mean, you think about it now, like they definitely are middle relievers, but like Cruz has kind of been like the fireman, like first guy out of the bullpen.
I'd call him a stopper.
A stop. Yeah, that's fair. Like he comes in and his I watched his performance on Monday, dude. Like when that splitter's on, it is absolutely gross. Like I think our guy Resin 4 was talking. I don't really understand stuff plus, but I understand that 100 is average. And apparently his splitter has like a 250 stuff plus and with like 125 location.
That's crazy.
And like you could see in that that clip from Pitching Ninja, he just kept like dotting it like bottom left corner, and I was just very impressed by that. Because I mean, I'm not a hitter. I haven't hit a baseball in probably about 15 years, but like I can just imagine, okay, it's coming in 93. It looks like it's going to go over your head, and whoop, like just drops right down to the corner there.
Rolls off the table.
Yeah, absolutely insane. So I think our bullpen is probably the strongest thing that we've had this year. And I think the problem, the formula is making sense to me of how they were supposed to win games this year. Like that Saturday night game, perfect formula.
Yeah,
like they get their pitcher a couple runs for. Hunter Green, by the way, great outing. Like
looked great.
Six innings, 1 run.
Hunter Green's been awesome.
He's been great this year. So you trust your starter to go 6 innings, and then you got a bunch of horses in the bullpen that will get they're kind of trying to play a little bit of Brewer ball right now, where they're they try to just get 3, 4, 5 and just shut the game down after 6 innings.
Here's something I saw proposed on the internet recently. I don't think it was a big account that said this. So I don't know if you guys have thought about this, especially as we get healthier in the rotation, as we look forward next year when Brett Lauder hopefully is pushing into the rotation, and suddenly we have too many pieces to go around. Graham Ashcraft, bullpen arm. What are your thoughts there?
Damn.
He's
Nice.
shown flashes. He's been good, but he kind of is what he is a little bit. You're not, just from what we have so far, like this season, he's been solid, but he's not shown that he could.
I want to say this: how foolish do we look right now? Because some of our earlier episodes we had this year, we're talking about moving Nick Lodolo to the bullpen. he's been like
he's a dog.
He's been one
I
of the
love
best.
As long as he can
Lodolo.
keep staying healthy, yeah. But Graham Ashcraft, I thought that was interesting. I think the argument was that his stuff could play well as a reliever, and as long as he isn't so frustrated by that and like wants to go and like loses his confidence if he gets sent to the bullpen, he could be a great bullpen arm.
Yeah. I mean,
Kind of feel that Nick Martinez role a little bit.
somehow you could teach him that Paul Skeens splinker because he's already got that sinker already.
Ooh.
You could teach him that Paul Skeens splinker.
Talk dirty to me, Steve.
Whew. Yeah. And just that hard slider too, like 3 pitches. It's like that. It's the Will Sinnett TikTok. He's like, all right, Timothy Chalamet, I'm going to strike you out on 3 pitches. Like that's Graham Ashcraft every time he comes up on the mound. So I like that though. But
anyway, there are ways to boost from within as well.
Well, and then like next year, if there's really a piece you want, like you could probably use him in a trade.
Yeah,
like I don't.
True.
I don't really feel like trading any of our guys. Like you said, Don. And Dave's been pretty out on this too. He's talked about we don't really feel like trading guys. We feel like we've got a great team here. We like everything that the team is doing, and we've got a lot of pieces from inside the house too. Like Connor Phillips has not been talked about a lot this year, but he's still developing in AAA. He's
struggled
not
with
been
control
great.
a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, not been great, but theoretically he's another piece. You got Brett Lauder, coming up, and
He's going to leapfrog Phillips pretty quickly.
Oh yeah,
and you got Tony Santion, still in Louisville that you could call up as a bullpen arm anytime.
He is he starting or is he relieving in Louisville?
Last I heard, he was relieving. But,
Okay.
I would need someone to check me on that. So
I thought, no, that was my guess too. And I think his stats are pretty good.
yeah, but I think I like what you say though. Like, and I agree. There's a lot of talent in
Yeah, it's all about
in the organization.
put the puzzle pieces together and figure out how to not waste guys in AAA or in the bullpen, whatever. How to put it all together. And I think the Reds have the talent there. I'd love to see them go get some pieces, but I don't think it's
So let me. I got us off on the trade tangent. Let me return the question to you.
sure.
What do you think the Reds like? How many games? I don't know the math on it, so I just guessed 80. But how many? What is their over under 500? How many games?
Well, so let's just pretend that by the end of the month they're at the halfway point of the season. So 81 games. So at 81 games, halfway through the season, honestly, if you're just like you said, if you're just a couple games under 500 at that point, basically they can't be worse. They can't let this 8 games under get worse.
They got to stop the bleeding soon.
Yes,
Sooner rather than later.
and what we're saying though is this is what you need to do before guys like CES and Marte get back. So basically, with the current roster, and so you're expecting to be even better in that case. But I think with this schedule, I think you should be 2 games under 500 at worst.
And I hate to say it and talk like this right now, but I really think that this month of June coming up either makes or breaks the season.
Yeah,
because it's so heavily loaded with division opponents. Like, you have a serious opportunity to put some hay in the barn in the division.
We saw this,
and you don't see the division this heavily again until looking ahead until August, because July it's NL opponents, but it's a lot of AL opponents, and they don't play a division team in the month of July until the very end of July when they play the Cubs.
Yeah, interesting.
So you have to you start to have to stack in some divisional wins right here, right now. So like this month of June
was the turning point.
Makes or breaks the season.
June was the turning point for last year's team, right?
Because they hit the 12-game winning streak.
They had a really good June, of course.
Yeah,
and that's when
that's what kept them in it
showing out
for as long as it did. Really,
right?
That 12-game winning streak kept them in it.
And it ended up being that the All-Star break sort of deflated the team a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was all that happened in like June and early July.
Can you tell me that we do not have a Brewers series outside of the All-Star break? Because that would really just
play the Brewers in June, mid-June.
No.
Okay, good.
When's the All-Star break this year?
July.
That was that last year where we played them leading into it and coming out of the All-Star break?
It was both 21 and 23 that we did.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we like had pretty decent series both times in Milwaukee, and we got swept both times in Cincinnati coming out.
What does
see the Brewers
do?
the middle of June 14, 15, 16, Culture Days weekend. See the Brewers, and then you don't see them again until August 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then it's kind of back with the Brewers. Maybe.
So it is pretty crazy, though, that we had to wait until
end of August.
May 27th for the Reds to play the second NL Central team of the year, because they played the Brewers in like April, right?
Yeah, well, that's the product of the new schedule where you play every AL team. And
yeah, I think the algorithm kind of did them dirty this year. But Rob, what about you? What do you think? Like, how many games on you? So, what's your official?
I'm going to say 2 under is
200? Okay.
my optimistic, but not totally outlandish. I think 2 under at the halfway point, and you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, overall 2 record by the 200 by the All-Star break.
Like,
which I guess that's not possible though, because it's an even or an odd number of 200, 500.
If you're if you're 40 and 39 and 40.
No, it's not possible.
You
so
see math, baby.
I'll say 1 under.
Okay.
Screw it.
All right.
Optimism.
40 and 41.
40 and 41.
I like
Give
that.
me 40 and 41.
I think they got to probably be. I mean, I think it all depends what they do this month of June. I'd really just need a winning record in June for them to stay in it. But yeah, I think if they're at 500, I think they're still
true.
in
And that
good
was kind of
shape.
my point.
Yeah.
It doesn't even necessarily matter what the record is right this moment. Think about it as June. If you can go 4 games over each, if you go 4 games over in each of the next 4 months, you are going to be in the mix for sure.
They have to be in contention to be buyers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't be. Yeah.
And I think that either has to be at 500 or just above 500.
Yeah. So 4 games under would actually, or 4 games over this month would put them at 4 games under at the halfway point, or about.
Yeah.
So really anything in that range, I think, is good.
Yep, I agree. And I hope that they do, but it's just like I can't blame people for being like, well, this team is not very good. Like, why should we believe? But it's like, there's not really much going on right now. Like, I know, like I'm a hockey fan. Like, I know there's some basketball fans out there, but what else are you gonna do? Like,
where are you gonna go?
Where are you gonna go? I like that this 45 minutes has just led to once again, where are you gonna go? But really though, I mean, there's definitely a reason why we were all excited this year about this team, and maybe finally, if some of these things start clicking, the offense starts coming back up.
Well, and I want the casuals. I don't say that disparagingly, but like I want my friends that don't like really follow baseball to understand that this is a good team. Like, they're playing. They're not playing to their ability at the moment, and they're a better team than their record. And I think too many people are just like think the season's already over. Think there's no
we
chance.
Spent all off season talking about how good this team was going to be, and it hasn't lived up to expectations.
But the talent is there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've seen very talented teams like the Padres like miss the Mets, like very talented teams miss the playoffs every year. Baseball is a fickle game. Injuries really screw you.
We've always thought too that
no
this might have been like the sophomore slump year, and it kind of looks like it is from our like second year guys. So I think they just need to really get some sea legs back under them. They need a couple guys to continue heating up. Like, they've got a couple guys going right now, need a couple more. And like, once you've got 6, 7, 8 guys going, like they were at full strength last year, then it's the sky's the limit, And I mean, Mo Egger put this tweet out the other day. Like, they really started to heat up at Memorial Day last year and then into June. So, and you saw, I mean, a 4-game winning streak just over this past weekend swept the Dodgers, and power of friendship strikes again. So
I love that.
Yeah, I just don't. Again, I think I said 6 years earlier. I've been saying it this whole time. I don't respect any of the teams in our division. I think they're all trash, and we've been like the trashiest of the trash heap right now. But if you can continue to like put together some good games against the Cubs, the Pirates, like. Who do we play on for the
They played the Rockies. Actually, no, sorry, that's June. I'm way off. My apologies, listeners. They played the Yankees on the 4th of July.
In New York.
In the Bronx.
Okay. I just wanted to avoid the furry convention for McCutcheon. So but we're avoiding that. So you got to beat these teams though in your division. You're right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. We can talk in circles all we want. I think we understand this team's good. Hopefully everyone else does. Hopefully people keep going to the ballpark and supporting them. I think that makes the players play better. We saw how it fueled their 12-game rally last year. And, hey, even if we don't get another one, I think this team is still in the mix. Again, it kind of unlike years in the past. I think people are so used to, like, if we had a tough stretch like this in May, the season really was over because we started poorly. This year we started well. And that's kind of saving us. Like I said, even after such a tough – what was the worst stretch? Maybe it was like we lost like 12 or 14. Was that as bad as it got?
Yeah.
To win 2 games in 2 full weeks of play is crazy bad.
I saw a stat on Twitter a few days ago where, like, at this point last year, the Reds right now were like 1 game under where they were. Is that you?
Yeah.
They're 1 game under where they were at this point last year or something like that.
Yeah. So it's never ideal to have a stretch like that that's so bad. But, and again, last year's team kind of got a 12-game winning streak to put them back into it. We're okay. We don't need that. And honestly, we could have, even if we didn't have a 12 – so say you go 8-4 in that stretch or something instead – last year's team still could have made the playoffs if they just didn't shit the bed so badly in the month of September that we talked about all season was going to be the easy month.
That's easy month.
Baseball's crazy. You can never count on that. And again, we have an easier schedule coming up here in June, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah, I'm not going to say this is an easy part of the schedule considering it's against the division. Right. And
division games are always
up for grabs.
Throughout the record books, right?
Yeah, the NL Central can
cannibalize
itself like at the top of the hat.
I also swore off calling any month easy after September's of 2021 and 2023.
Pretty sure it was a podcast wide oath we took there.
Cut this out.
Cut is fine. Cut that.
All right, boys. Well, hey, this has been really fun to get together and do these in person. Always a good time to see you boys. Glad we were able to get together this last weekend. Any plans to go back to the ballpark anytime soon, Rob?
Not that I'm aware of. They're on the road coming up. They play the Cubs beginning next week. at home. They play the Cubs and the Gardos.
Steve will be
I
headed
might try to
back
sneak out one of those.
back
weeks,
out
maybe,
west.
one of those days.
Yeah, I told you about my trip that we're going to take, right?
Remind me.
We are planning on going to the last Oakland versus the Giants game in the Coliseum in August. So
Nice.
it's my dad and my brother and a couple buddies. So you guys are welcome. I know you said you probably pretty booked up on travel this year, but
Got a lot of travel.
but yeah. So there's one last time to go to the Oakland Coliseum, and I figured that would be a good game to go. You know, where it's actually full instead of just empty. You know, so feel the echoes of the park one more time.
Go see Mason Miller if he's still on the team at that point.
Yeah, that would really make me upset if they traded him. I was like, dude.
I mean, they should. But
realistically, they should.
They more than likely will.
And they more than likely will because they're the A's. But like, you know, if they do trade him, then their owner is going to see his wish of seeing Aaron Judge hit more home runs in his ballpark. So.
That'd be great. All right, boys. Well, hey, hopefully we talked the listeners off the ledge a little bit, gave a small dose of optimism into your Reds fandom, and hey, they're not out of it yet. It is still the month of May. There's a lot of ball to be played left. A lot of guys to get healthy. Let's get hot. Let's get Ellie back into the home run numbers. Let's get TJ Friedl ripping base hits again. Can't wait for the last few injured guys and the suspension to kind of right the ship there. And there's a lot of fun baseball left. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's gut check time.
Yeah,
it's gut check time.
Like we said, now you gotta start turning corner. So
every game is a playoff game from here on out.
The old adage.
Damn straight. Hey, that'll be a stressful next 4 months, but I'm here for it. All right, boys, this has been fun. Till next time, this is Reds Country Radio.
Go Reds, baby.
Woo-hoo. Go Red Legs.